So inflation looks at a lot of things, primarily the rise of prices, but we'll see touches other areas of the economy as well. If we take a look back to 1960, so this was even before I was born, and that's a long time ago. Charles de Gaulle was president of France. France had just undergone the creation of a new franc. The franc was the measure of currency. Because of inflationary pressures, in fact, the prices of goods had gone up a lot, and so we were measuring the prices in large number of francs. And so they made a major economic decision. They divided the prices by 100, and they produced the new French franc. And by that time, we started to pay for the tollway. The autoroute we started to pay for the first time to drive, something we still do today. What else was going on in life back then? You could buy a baguette for about 7 centimes of a euro. A car, 2 chevaux, a 2CV car, very popular with young people. The price was about 730 euros. Movie tickets, 28 cents to see the movie. Liter of gas cost about 16 cents. And what else do we have here? Wages, if I recall, were pretty low at the time relative to today, obviously, but about 25 cents per hour. So some of you are probably thinking, wow, wouldn't it be great to live back in 1960? But as we can see, 1960 also meant you were making 25 cents an hour. So I sincerely hope things were not as expensive as they are today. So let's go on. Let's take a look at the future, shall we? So what's the future hold? 2010, quite a few years later. Exactly 50 years later, Nicolas Sarkozy is president of France. And not surprising, something we have even today, large strikes, union strikes about retirement pension reform plans. So what happened to our prices? Well, the baguette is now 83 cents. A car, the lowest price car, the Dacia Logan, 7,600 euros. Movie ticket cost a little bit more than 10 euros to go see a movie. A liter of gas was 1.42 euros, and the wage went up to 8.86 euros, the minimum wage, per hour. So, what changed? And did it really matter? Well, what do we see? We see the prices went up. In fact, the price of the baguette multiplied by 12. The price of a car went up by almost 11 times what it was. The price of movies went up 36 times what they were. The price of a liter of gas was multiplied by 9. But your wages, the minimum wage, also went up by a factor of 35. So, are we better off or worse off? Well, if you're a minimum wage earner, probably better off, because your wage went up by a ratio of 35, and the only thing that went up that much was the price of a movie ticket. And as time and as things evolved, the prices of cars actually were decreasing. We have new technologies that allow us to make lower price cars. Price of gas went up, but not that much. We could probably assume that the wages were relatively low at the time. But what we're seeing here is that the impact of inflation, the fact that prices go up, really depends upon if the wages go up. I mean, if your wages and salaries rise at the same time and at the same rate that prices go up, the impact that we have on the economy is not as bad as some people think. So prices just measure things. And we see that in this example. So inflation is the general and ongoing rise in the level of prices in an entire economy. It's important to bear in mind that inflation does not refer to an increase in relative prices. So the price of, for example, a baguette relative to the price of a car. We're looking at the general price level. And overall, in market economies, we see that prices tend to rise over time. And this is what we've seen in the last example. Some prices do rise faster than others, and later on I'll show you some examples of how prices in certain items like tobacco rise faster than other items. Maybe electricity and gas prices can rise fast, and we see that recently. So we don't capture everything in a general measure of inflation. We do see differential increases of prices. But having this general approach allows us to get sort of an idea about what's happening in the macroeconomy. And so we need to have a general idea of our prices rising. Can we answer the question, are prices rising in general? Well, to do this, economists need something to measure all the prices. We can't go out and count all the prices of goods and services. We can't easily do that. So what we'll do, and what economists do in most developed economies, will determine a basket of goods and services. This is what the average person in the country purchases, and we'll call it a basket of goods. And then we'll look at, well, how much does that basket of goods and services cost? How much are we paying to buy those goods and services? And are we paying more or less than in the past? And this will allow us to measure inflation. So a basket of typically purchased goods is defined in France by the French economic authorities. And in France, that basket, obviously it's a basket that is not really quite purchased. It represents a large amount of goods and services. And in fact, in France, we include about 1,000 different products. Now, they won't tell you what those products are. It's very confidential information. But we're about 1,000. Those 1,000 products cover about 95% of typical household purchases when you look at all households across France. You know, obviously some households buy different products than others, but if you take those 1,000 products, we're getting a pretty good idea of the average household. And when we look at the basket of goods and services, we will obviously weight the different items to reflect the importance in our overall budget over time. I mean, if you say, okay, I'll buy in the basket of goods, I'll take the price of a baguette, I'll take the price of a, I don't know, let's say eggs, and I'll take the price of a jewelry. I don't know. Well, we don't buy jewelry all the time. It's not important for us in our budget. We buy it now and then, but certain food items, we tend to buy a lot of it. So we're going to weight them accordingly because it reflects a bigger part of our budget over time.